My name's Martin Splitt. I have been born in Hanover, but evacuated the premises as pretty much a lot of other people do. So I live in Zurich now, and I'm a developer advocate for the web ecosystem team in the Google Zurich office. Well, at Google. Whoops. Oh, this is interesting. All right, not walking too much back. Today I want to talk about the web in a specific aspect, but first, why do I want to talk about the web? Well, I think it's a fantastic platform, because no matter what kind of device you're having, no matter where you are, you probably have access to a browser of some sort, and there's to this day, right now, there's around 4.2 billion users according to Statista from this year, and we are working on enabling the next billion users to join us. So this is a fantastic platform if you want to reach a lot of people on all sorts of platforms and devices, and that's lovely. And today, web development is particularly approachable and nice in many ways. The tool set has changed a lot, and you might have different preferences in which tools you're using. That includes the different frameworks that there are. But more or less, the development experience is more or less consistent, right? You get the CLI tools for your framework of choice. You start having it scaffold out a new application, then you run a local server to then basically iterate, and build until you're happy with what you've built so far, and then you basically make a production-ready build, and they automate a lot of the stuff that we had to do manually in the very first days, like minification, concatenation, tree shaking, all that stuff happens for us without us having to do all the things manually. And then we deploy it, and then we're good. So I think it's a fantastic time to be a web developer these days. And I don't think that we are on a downward trend or a scary path or something. I think the platform is improving to give us better platform primitives to build stuff on. And the tools are improving along the way as well. Sometimes the platform leads what the tools will be doing. Sometimes the tools lead where the platform is heading. But generally speaking, if we do some things right, like performance, accessibility, and having good stuff that users want, really, in the end, then we are on a perfect platform and the perfect path to success. So I might think oh, I want to do something on this wonderful platform. I want to give it what it clearly has not enough yet of, and that's cat pictures, right? Because, I want to make people's lives a little brighter every day. So, looking at cat pictures at least makes me happy. And I know that it makes a bunch of other people happy. So I think that's a fantastic idea. So I build out my little cat app, and I use whatever tool I want to use for this. And it produces some HTML and some images here. And everyone's happy, right? So that's fantastic, because that's what I define success as. And your success might be different. It might be getting rich, which is fine. My success, if I get someone smiling, then that is a good day. So, I'm as long as people are coming to my new wonderful website, Kitten Corner, and have a good day and smile, I'm successful. But the chances are that you build something and put it on the web platform where all these 4.2 billion users are playing around with stuff and entering URLs furiously into their browsers. But actually, you might not get any of these eyeballs. And no matter what your definition of success is, I think pretty much every definition of success is having some eyeballs on here and not going with, ouch, oops, where is it? Ouch, no one here, right? So we want to get something on this, because this makes me sad. This isn't what I wanted. I built stuff for users to be happier, and now I don't have any users, so I made no one happier. So what the hell am I doing? So should I just do a mobile app instead rather than a web app? I don't think that's the right way. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that we need to consider one more question that we are usually skipping, which is, how do people actually find my things? I build stuff, but how do I get people to find it? Sure, I can spend some marketing budget, but I think the chances are pretty high that people who are looking for something online are going to a search engine. It doesn't matter which search engine, but basically, they're not going to type in Kitten Corner or something. They're going to look for something that serves a purpose that they feel they have to fulfill. For instance, cute cats, right? So I might enter cute cats, and then I get lots of cute cats. Actually, lots and lots, right? So there's approximately 1.3 billion cute cat pages on the internet, which is great, at least according to Google, which is great. But how do I make sure that people are not getting any cat pictures on the internet, but my cat pictures? Because obviously, I'm convinced that I'm doing the best work I could do, so I think my cat pictures are really fantastic, and they deserve people to see them. So how can I make sure that I get found? And then there's a few Few steps involved in that journey to get that to happen. First things first is I have to put my stuff on the internet. Surprise, right? So I have to upload the things that I have on my local disk, or at least have like a web server that is connected to a domain that is somewhere else and keep my laptop running. So that's the very first step. But then I need to make sure that a search engine crawler can actually find these links, either by another website that they already know linking to it, or by me submitting it proactively, saying like, hey, by the way, I have a new thing here. Look at it, please. And last but not least, well, not last but not least, but the next step is to then, once it found this URL, it has to actually look at it. It has to actually download the content. And then it has to figure out what is this content about. So for instance, if it's like a new book coming out, someone has to spot that there's a new book, and then has to get it, and then basically has to put it in the library. But the problem there is, if I search the library, I don't go to the very first book that is closest to me and go like, is this about cats? No, and then I take the next book. That's not how it works. We go to what we call an index or a catalog. So basically we go like cats, and then we get a list of books that are potentially interesting to us. But this potentially interesting, like there's a reason that there are librarians, because not all books about cats are what I want. If I look for photo books on cats because I want to look at cat pictures, a book on cat diets is not necessarily interesting. There might be pictures in them, but they might not be very interesting, and especially if it is about what comes out of the cat after it ate something, it might not be the kind of cat picture that I'm interested in, right? So the last thing that we have to do as a search engine is we have to rank. We have to look at all the different things. We have to figure out what is this person actually looking for, and then basically looking into our index and ranking the different, sorting the different pages that we have for this topic, and figuring out what is the best result for the user in the end. So the intent or the purpose of a search engine and your purpose are very well aligned, because you want the right content for the users. The users should be happy with what they see, and we want the users to be happy with what we show them in search results. So we are aligned. Today we're not going to talk about the first step, because I think every web developer here knows how to put stuff online. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. There's fantastic resources out there. Glitch is a really easy way, for instance, to do that, to get something online, but whatever. And the last bit, the ranking, is a can of worms. Because we are looking at Google search at least, we're looking at over 200 signals to figure out which result is the best for this particular user at this particular time with this particular query. So I'd rather not discuss this because I only have like 30 minutes, so no. We're just going to focus on the middle bits, which are very important, and we as developers have a lot of influence in them. So let's meet Googlebot. Googlebot is doing these 3 steps in the middle. It discovers URLs, it crawls them, it fetches them from the internet, and then it looks at what they are about and puts them into an index. It does that in 2 steps, more or less. Like, let's start with something simple. It gets a URL from its discovery part, and then it basically fetches the HTML. And then it takes this HTML and figures out what this page is about. So it looks at all the text, all the images, all the links, all that stuff, and goes like, so this page is about cat pictures. Great, I'll put it in the index for cat pictures. And because in this context there's links, there's more URLs to query and crawl and possibly index. So it passes these URLs back to the crawler, and then the cycle continues. The crawler fetches these and indexes these, and then it keeps going. And eventually, if a user searches for something, the pages in the index get ranked and then shown to the user, and then the user clicks on one or more. Cool. But that's not quite how it works. And it can't work like that if you think about it, because modern web apps have changed quite fundamentally. Who can tell me what this web app is about? Right. That's what I thought. If you have listened the last couple of minutes, it is clearly about cat pictures, but okay, whatever. No, like, this problem is not just your problem, it's the problem for the crawler as well, right? Because I'm looking at this HTML, I'm like, I don't know, this could be an empty page for all I know, right? I have to run the JavaScript first. And that's where the first myth comes in, because people are like, so I have to run JavaScript, but does Googlebot run JavaScript? I mean, it does crawling and then it does indexing, but there was no mention of JavaScript in the process. So am I in danger? Is my web app even be able to be indexed at some point? And the answer, at least for Google, is yes. We do run your JavaScript. I can't speak for the other search engines or crawlers, but we definitely do run JavaScript. However, we might not run it right away, because, it takes a browser to run the JavaScript somewhere. So we actually have some resources that we need to attach to this kind of process. And we have limited resources because surprisingly, unlike in Computer Science 101, resources are always limited. There's not an infinite pool of computers in the world. And the web is pretty freaking big. In 2016, Google saw 130 trillion pages. So it needs a little more than one MacBook to do all the rendering, right? So we have to defer this a little bit. That can take minutes, that can take hours, that can take days. So what does actually happen in Googlebot these days? Well, we still start with the URL going into the crawler bit. We still fetch the HTML. But then we look at the HTML that we got right away. And the least thing we can do is, if there's any URLs in there that are linking to other pages, we can enqueue them for crawling. So basically, the crawler also isn't infinite in resources, so it has to give you a budget of how many pages it's going to crawl per day. But we want to use this capacity as efficiently as possible. So if we discover URLs, we're like, all right, please go ahead, fetch these next, so that we can run these things hypothetically in parallel. Let's say we have enough resources to create 1,000 pages or 10,000 pages or 100,000 pages. Then while we are already seeing some links here, we haven't actually indexed anything yet, but we can immediately crawl the next bit and then start the process in parallel again and run it for the next URL. So this is pretty efficient. This is pretty nice. And then once the resources are available, the processor takes this HTML and plugs that into an actual browser running on our infrastructure and into an actual Chromium. And the Chromium runs JavaScript and everything, and eventually the content comes back. So now we have the content after JavaScript execution. So if our Angular, React, Vue, Ember, whatever app runs, we now have its content. And obviously there can be links in that one, so we do this again, and we pass them onto the crawler stage again, and enqueue them for crawling. And then now we know what this page is about, so we can put this in the index. There are edge cases where this works slightly differently, but this is the majority of the cases. This is what happens. And this is the only thing that you should keep in mind mentally, and then you can tweak it as you go along. Cool. So that means that if we want to make the life of the crawler easier, we can use hybrid rendering or server-side rendering, because our links are going to be discovered quicker. Because if it's in the initial HTML, we can immediately start crawling those at the same time, so we can parallelize this. This is really nice. But that's not necessarily, that's not needed. You don't have to do that to get your stuff indexed. Don't worry about it. It also doesn't mean that you're ranking differently. That's, again, a completely different can of worms. Also, if you do SSR, so server-side rendering or hybrid rendering, you get more content quicker to the user, and that's always good for the usability and user experience. So I highly recommend looking into this if you can. And then it's okay, cool. So it does run JavaScript, but Martin, I'm a developer. And I'm a developer as well. I want to debug these things. And it seems like Googlebot and Google Search is a black box, right? There's no way I can debug what's happening except for putting it online, waiting if it shows up in search. If it doesn't show up in search, then I have to go back, make a deployment, wait another week or so. That's not cool. That's not a good development flow. But that's not the case. We have tools for us, developers, to figure this one out. For instance, the mobile-friendly test. You can just plug any URL in, and if you're like me and you're developing locally, then you can also use a tool called ngrok to basically plug a URL in that is pointing to your local machine and your local development version, and you can see what Google would do. Well, the first obvious thing is it tells you if it's mobile-friendly. That's in the name. It's called the mobile-friendly test. That's not really a surprise. But it also tells you how the page looks like after rendering it. So this is what Googlebot sees. This one has a little glitch. You can't scroll in the screenshot. That doesn't mean that we're not seeing anything that is below the fold here. If you want the full page thing, use Search Console's fetch and render. That is right now giving you the same result, except that you can scroll for it, but we are working on this. But basically, you see if we're seeing your content. If you're concerned about content that is not visible or is something that is below the fold right now, that's not a problem, because we also give you the rendered HTML. So you can figure out if we are seeing the HTML and if it looks the way you would expect it. So is my meta stuff in there? Is my title correct? Are all my links there? Is all my images in the HTML? Because if it is, we'll be indexing them. So you'll be fine. Last but not least, it also finally gives you a way to see what's going wrong if there's JavaScript involved. We give you the same console as you get in your browser. You will get the error messages, you get the location in the code, and you get a stack trace. So now you can actually debug what's happening if there's something going wrong. Okay, cool. But if you do that, you might find, wait a minute, Googlebot is running Chrome. If I test in the browser, it looks fine. But for some reason, it doesn't look fine in the mobile-friendly test. What's going on here? Why is there a difference? And this is a bit of the unfortunate part of this talk, because Googlebot actually runs Chrome 41, which is 3 years old by now. If it would be a child, it would run and talk to us. So that's not fantastic. And quite concretely, that means that we are having very limited ES6 support. Consider no ES6 support. That's the safe assumption, because it's 3 years old. It's from 2015. That's not great. And also, there's some other limitations. We don't store cookies across navigations or URLs. We don't use local storage. We don't permit geolocation requests. A bunch of stuff, if you rely on it, won't work in Googlebot for more obvious or less obvious reasons. If you want to see more about this, there's fantastic documentation at the developer.google.com/search site. So we have a lot of documentation for you available to dig in deeper here. There's a workaround as well. So if you're concerned with other search engines that might not run JavaScript or link share bots, like Slack, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, they parse your website as well to give a nicer presentation as your URL appears in a Twitter stream or in a Slack channel. But they don't run JavaScript so far. That might change, but right now they're not doing it. So what can you do to work around this issue? Well, what you can do is you can do what we call dynamic rendering. If you see a regular user coming along with their modern browser, your server should just go you know what, you get the modern web app, you'll be fine, whatever. But if you see from the user agent, because all bots are telling you, all legitimate bots are telling you that they are bots, we're not running magical experiments where we're sneaking up on you. We tell you hi, this is Googlebot calling, how's it going? So you can fetch that user agent header and then basically run a headless browser, headless Chrome, for instance, to execute JavaScript and produce static HTML and serve that back. There's a bunch of documentation for that as well. So if you're interested in how that works, there's docs for this one. I'll also publish a blog post really soon on the Webmasters blog explaining how we do that with a tool called Rendertron. If you want to roll your own, there's an NPM module called Puppeteer that is basically an API that allows you to have a high-level conversation with a headless Chrome and load pages. If you want a more ready-made solution, have a look at Rendertron. That you can deploy that one and then use that one relatively easily. There's an Express.js middleware and stuff, so that's a pretty good idea as well. So basically, use the testing tools we're providing you. There's other testing tools as well. I'm going to name one more later. And also make sure that you're serving a version of your content that works for the person or the browser or the crawler requesting it, right? Which means you might have to transpile your code. You might have to actually dynamically render it for other bots. So make a smart call here. And then it's okay, cool, but that's all I can do as a developer, right? There's the SEO people do magic stuff and do their little voodoo dance, but there's not much that I can do as a developer, right? But I think that's not quite true, because if you look at search results, how do I decide which search result I want to click in? If I search for cute doggos and puppers, I may get these results. And the very first thing I probably do is I have a look at the title. The second title, for instance, the first title looks pretty good. It's 40 of the cutest, fluffiest, and cuddliest puppers and doggos. That's pretty exciting. The second one is a random Twitter account. I don't know. Maybe it's just a name coincidence. Maybe this Twitter account has never tweeted. So then I might look at the description that we get, and he's 40 of the cutest dogs alive, so even alive, which means I could visit and cuddle them. That's fantastic news as well. The second one still is yeah, cutest dogs on the planet. It's yeah, but what if they didn't actually tweet anything? So is this a good search result? I don't know. So these titles and descriptions mean a lot. And you can control them, even in a JavaScript web app. And you should, because every page that has different content, if I have different cats, I want to point out these different cats. If someone's looking for a gray cat, I should tell them so in both the title and the description, or at least in the description. If I'm using React, I can use a module called React Helmet that gives me this. I can set it based on whatever state I'm having in my component. If I'm using Angular, though, I have the same capabilities. It's just behind the title and meta services. I can also respond to whatever happens in my component, whatever data I get. And if I'm using Vue.js, which is perfectly fine as well, I can use Vue-meta. It gives me this additional method in my components that's called meta-info that it calls and makes sure that the document title and the descriptions are updated as well. Cool. So descriptive and helpful titles matter a lot, and the same goes with descriptions. They have to be good. They have to match what is on the page. and they make a lot of sense because they help the user decide if my page is the right search result to click on. Why should they click on me, not on someone else, right? Or my page and not on someone else. Don't click on me. The next thing is then like, okay, cool, yes, but that's like super basic. And I guess like as long as I give you some HTML and some stuff, you will be fine, right? And I say, well, no, you should still be pretty excellent at what you're doing. You should not forget about the basics. And I'm surprised that I have to talk about this, but I'll talk about this anyways, because links actually matter. Surprisingly. They don't matter as much. Don't buy them, right? That's not a good idea, but you want to make sure that we can discover your URLs. So you should use a tag that has been around for over 20 years. It was an HTML 1.0. It's kind of the big selling point of the web, which is the anchor tag. Give it an href that has a URL that you can go to as well, and have some useful link text here. The link text here is not fantastically useful, but you get the point. That's a good link. Sure, if you want to use like a single page application framework, you might want to intercept the navigation because you want to do like fancy transitions and stuff, and you don't want the page to reload in between. So you might add an on-click handler that allows you to like intercept this and deal with it within your framework or library. That's perfectly cool too, that we're like, okay, there's a URL, we're good. Because if we are not running JavaScript, the URL still takes us to the other piece of content. That's fantastic, that's great. Just don't leave it out. That's not a good idea, right? Where does this link go to? I don't know. And then some smart asses go like, well, okay, fine, I have an href. That's not a useful URL either. Like, what the hell? Don't do that. That's not cool. And also don't like get really weird and confusing. That's what? And also, like, I don't know. I don't know. What is this supposed to be doing? I have no idea. We'll just go to like /stuff and be like, yeah, whatever. That's probably what they meant. And they're like, no, that's the wrong page. No, it's not. That's literally where you point the link. And holy shit, what is wrong with you? Just don't. That also goes for button, by the way. No, if it goes somewhere, if it points to another piece of content, it is a freaking link. Okay? This thing here is not accessible. Screen readers will not see it. Yes, you can do like extra work to use like ARIA and stuff, but the first rule of ARIA is don't use it if you don't have to. And you don't have to. You can literally save 3 of the characters of the tag name. Don't. Just no. Give us a link, which is a link tag, an anchor tag, and an href that is a URL. Oh, speaking of URLs, so use these 2. Don't use the other ones. I think that's obvious, but speaking of URLs, URLs have a very clear structure normally. You have a host part, example.com, you have a path, and then you might have this hash thing. This hash thing is called the fragment identifier, and basically addresses a piece of the content that is already there. So if you have a really long Wikipedia page, the hash tells you which part of that really long Wikipedia page you're looking at. It is not meant to go to something completely different. We have been abusing this at the very early stages of single-page apps. We have gone like, we get an event when that changes, so we can intercept this event and basically like load different content. That is fantastic. Except it isn't, because that's not what URLs were meant to be like, and so it comes with a bunch of problems, including that bots are really having a hard time dealing with this kind of behavior. So instead, please use the history API. But Martin, I have to support some browsers that are, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. Every browser supports this except Opera Mini and Internet Explorers older than IE 11. Sure, in Austria there's a bunch of IE 10 users, but honestly, imagine what kind of devices they must be on. It's like, there are Internet Explorer 6 users, yeah, on a Windows 98 machine. It's cool that you're trying to give them a really nice JavaScript experience, but if that crashes their computers, that's not going to be fantastic. I think they are fine if it refreshes the browser. That's okay. You just like refresh the page, just give me the content. Sure, we can do that. So use the history API. Also, make sure that you're using HTTP status codes properly. So I go to a page that doesn't exist, and I see an error message, and I'm like, oh, that's okay. But what happens in the background is actually it's not quite okay, because it tells me, yeah, this is content, this is fine. So when Googlebot goes here, it goes like, what kind of search result is that? So I enter that URL, or I show that URL in the search results, and then the user sees like, no, there's nothing here. What? No, don't do that. That's not good. So please, if it's gone, give us a sign that it is gone. If you're in a single-page application, you might have to reload the page to do that because you can't change the HTTP status code once you have like gotten it from the server. But things are broken in the first place, so I think a full-page refresh is not going to cost you money. So please just give us a proper status code. Proper status code also means if it's not gone, if you just changed the URL or renamed the blog post or moved the URL structure or deployed a new version of something, then tell us that it has moved. Imagine I go, if you really want good fondue in Zurich, go to Friburger Fondue-Stübli. It's here and here, and I give you the address, and you're like, yeah, you come to Zurich, you're like, yeah, you go there, and it's a laundry service. You'll be like, dang it, okay, so it doesn't exist anymore. And you go somewhere else, and you're like, Friburger Fondue-Stübli, but it's in a completely different place. So is Martin's recommendation for this place or not? Can I trust this place? I don't know. I mean, it's a restaurant, and it's fondue. Okay, fantastic, but is it the one that Martin recommended? You don't know. But if there would be like a piece of paper in the window from the laundry service saying like, we have moved, please go to our new location at XYZ, and you go there, and it's like, yeah, you'll be like, Martin's recommendation is probably valid here. The same goes for search crawlers. If a search crawler sees a URL, and it like notes down a bunch of stuff that it knows about this URL, and then the URL disappears, and the same content appears somewhere else, we're like, oh, a new piece of content, fantastic, let's look at it with a fresh set of eyes. That's not good. Also give us a 200 if things are fine. So use the HTTP statuses reasonably. Which brings me to my next point. So do use HTTP statuses, markup, and URLs properly, because that's going to save you a lot of headaches later. And it's not that hard to do so. So last but not least, yeah, okay, Martin, that's all cool, but can we like be more proactive about it? Like, can I monitor what's going to happen? I don't think I can do that, right? We just have to like have the marketing department or the SEO people that we work for our company look at it every now and then. That's the best thing we can do. I don't think that's true. Let's look at a case where things go wrong. So we have this online shop here. It does an API call to figure out if the product that we have like been browsing to, there's a product ID. Maybe this product has gone out of the catalog, so we don't sell it anymore. So now this API call fails. It's like there's no product, and we're like, okay, so we show an error, and bad. So that gives you these soft 404s that I talked about, where you have a 200 from the server, but there's no product there. So someone in the department goes like, our single-page application code only runs in the browser, so we can't change this to a 404 that easily. So how about we do it differently? We actually say no index, so you can basically in the HTML specify that this page should not be indexed at all. And then we use JavaScript, and if the product is found, we remove it, so that we don't accidentally have some HTML pages show up or error pages show up in the search results. So that's a fantastic idea, right? And it's really easy to implement. You have this HTML tag there. You say like no index, don't put this in the index. And then you do your API call, and then you see like, oh, damn it, there's no product here. Okay, fair enough. So, we should not index this, just leave it in. But if we get the product, then we're like, okay, no, yeah, now put this in the index. But that's not necessarily a good solution, is it? Actually, no, it's a pretty terrible solution. The reason for that is, if we look at how Googlebot works, what I explained, it's like, okay, so the crawler sees the URL because it's linked somewhere, but the product doesn't exist anymore. The processor gets it, or even like, let's say this product exists. This is a perfectly fine product page. This is on all our pages. It's the same thing. We get the HTML, and we see that it doesn't want to be in the index. Cool. We're done here. We can go to the pub and have a beer, right? Because it doesn't want to be in the index anyway. So why would I do more work only to then like not have it in the index? That's a pretty clear dead end. Why would we want to do that? But that means that our JavaScript never was executed. So that's going to interrupt someone's breakfast. Because what's going to happen here is, if you have that on all your pages, you have effectively nuked your entire online shop from the search results. So if someone searches for a product that you're selling, you're not showing up. That's pretty bad. So yes, you don't want to discover this after a month of having no sales. That is a pretty bad idea. So what you can do instead is you can sign up for Search Console. It's free. And if you're using Google Analytics, it's really, really simple to verify yourself. If you're not, that's also still pretty simple. You have various ways of telling, this is my domain, I own this. That's fantastic. And it gives you an overview of which pages we have in the index, which pages have problems, and which pages are not in the index for whatever reason. It also proactively emails you if something changes. Imagine deploying that change because you're like, yeah, that's a smart idea. You deploy that change, a few hours later, you get an email like, hey, we just removed like 500 pages from the index. You'd probably be like, no, and roll that back, and then the crawler eventually comes back, hopefully very soon. You can even request the crawler to come back. Like, please come, look at my stuff, and then we look at it again, and then it's back in the index. You want to have this proactive way of figuring out what's going on. It also gives you the possibility to try individual pages. So if you're not sure when this was last updated or why it's not in the index, you can test this. You can test this right from there. It gives you a ton of information. You also get analytics. Now that doesn't sound fantastically interesting, but the thing is you see what people have built, what words people have entered into search and where you showed up, a page of you showed up, and how often people clicked on that search result. So analytics tells you what happens once people are on your page. This tells you about the people that might not make it to your page, right? It's the people where you're like in the search results, but people are like, yeah, no. So you can use this information, you can use the words they typed in to figure out if your content helps them with this particular intention. And it's like, okay, people are not actually using the product name, they are using a different description of what my product does. So maybe I should rewrite my page to fit that, because then it's clearer for them that this page helps them. So you can make better content. And I think that's pretty fantastic. So Search Console is a fantastic tool to figure out what's going on and to be informed about what happens with your page and also improve your page's content. I think that's an amazing thing. So in summary, let's sum this up. First things first, we do run JavaScript, but some crawlers don't. So consider hybrid or server-side rendering, because the more stuff you get out statically, the better it is for your users as well. They get the content faster. That is useful for crawlers and users alike. If you can't do that, use dynamic rendering as a workaround. Also, we have testing tools like the mobile-friendly test, Search Console. There's the rich results test that I can't discuss today because I'm running out of time. And make sure that you serve content that works for the crawler. Some crawlers don't run JavaScript, give them static HTML. Some others don't run ES6, give them ES5, stuff like that. Make sure that your titles and descriptions are helpful and make sense to the user looking for it, because that's what the user uses to determine which one to click on, right? Also use proper HTTP statuses, use semantic markup, use links with URLs, please, and use URLs properly. Don't use the weird hash URLs when you're actually changing content. Last but not least, make sure that you monitor your site. You can do that with Search Console for free. And please create content that users want and need, because that's the way we keep vibrant and vigilant in the web. Dziękuję, thank you very much. There's a bunch of resources that you can check out. I highly recommend all of them. Thank you for listening.